I look at my friend group now as my family. And this could be a superpower, but also something that kind of messes with you, like emotionally and, mentally. But I felt
that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Wow, that is a really hard one. Oh my gosh. It's like I almost need it written out in front of me.
Yeah, we can cut some of this out.
No, that's okay.
So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the first episode. This is now the Built Podcast, and we are going to be focusing on real estate, business, health, and wealth. We kind of shopped that out, a couple ideas to our followers and listeners, and that was what we landed on. And I think it really resonates a lot with kind of what we've done over the years and where we're going. Everything has to be built. I like the tagline, built, not born. Real estate portfolio has been built. My kind of health and fitness side's been built, as I'm sure yours has as well, Kristi. But yeah, I think it's going to be great for the show, and we're excited to build this out.
That's right. Build something great.
So today, on that same vein, really wanted to talk about kind of some of the differences and structures for building a business, building a real estate portfolio, building families, building your health and wellness. There's always this kind of teeter-tottering or balancing effect that it feels like, you go back and forth with different seasons and things like that as you're going through these progressions. So, I've never been one to really feel like I had a perfect balance, whether it's, work-life balance or, sometimes my wellness kind of falls apart whenever I'm really focused on business or I've got a lot of family things to take care of, or, real estate's really pulling my time away from building the rest of the side of the business. So I think it's an important piece to kind of riff through today, and I'm interested to get your take on that as well. Where do you feel like you're at with that journey right now? What is your balance at the moment?
My balance. So I would say my time and energy is being more focused on building my real estate portfolio, my real estate business, and I would say my fitness, because my fitness helps me be able to show up the best for my relationships, for my business. When I'm in tip-top shape, I feel as though I can move through the rest of my life with that. So I definitely prioritize fitness, and that helps the growing of the business and the relationship with my family for the most part. But I'm also single. I only have one dog. It's just kind of us moving through the world. So there's, other than my immediate family, like my mom, my dad, sister, and her family, of course, my niece, there's really not a whole lot on the family side to answer to other than that. So
Sure.
It's a little easier for me than for you, I would imagine.
Well, I think, there's definitely different seasons for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's situation is different. They've got different things that they're trying to balance versus others. That was going to be my next question, was like, where do you feel like you have an imbalance? And is that more on like the relationship side of things? I mean, it seems like you have a pretty good, strong friend group, pretty strong family, relationship dynamic. But do you feel like there are any big imbalances on where you want to be or what you want to be? What would you like to be focused on?
For the moment, I feel like I'm where I need to be. I am very intentional with what I prioritize, or try to be at least. Of course, I'm not perfect, just like anyone, but there are some friends that I am not as close to now that I wish I was. But like you said, different seasons. Mm-hmm. They've gone on into a different season than I'm currently in. But hopefully, once I get to a place where I've built what I feel I need to do now, I'll be able to reconnect and rekindle those and get closer to those people.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that personally as well. Starting a business, a startup, anything that has to do with that takes a lot of your time. And I've always been, it's kind of from a family dynamic, I think, growing up, my parents both own their own businesses, and a lot of the reasons that they did that, instead of going and getting, 9-to-5 job or something that they kind of had to answer a boss to, was they wanted the flexibility to be able to spend time with the family. Like dad always wanted to be at our sporting events, which he was able to do that because he set his own hours in his contracting business. Mom was a CPA, so she liked to be able to like take us to school and pick us up and take us to practices and things along those lines. And they were always around. So they kind of, at the same time had this balance between kind of work and life and family. But, as I've kind of started to ramp up what we're doing with the business, my biggest focus is always like being able to still have time for the family. And a lot of that comes on the weekends, and making sure that I'm home. Sometimes I get home later in the evenings with events and stuff like that. But, there's other areas of my life where I feel like I'm kind of falling behind at the same time. And a lot of that is like friendships. I've got a core set of friends that, we've been pretty tight with throughout since college or even before college. Very small group now from high school that I'm still kind of connected with. And a lot of that is just, I feel like, kind of growing up and out. And, a lot of my friends play a lot of golf, do a lot of like, fishing on the weekends. And, not that I feel like there's definitely nothing wrong with that, but I wish some days I could get out there and do more of that, connect with those guys more than I do. So it's like, at least the way that I look at it, like balance for me is more from like a macro standpoint versus like constantly having things like in flux on both sides of the spectrum. So, right now in this season, it's like my kids are young, my business is young, my real estate portfolio is young, so they need a lot of time. Mm-hmm. They need a lot of my time. They need a lot of my effort. So that scale is like, and it might be a couple years where it's that way, or maybe even 5 to 10 years that it's that way. But that scale is like super heavy on that end. And then there's going to be another season in life where maybe the business is a little bit more efficient, doesn't need as much as my time. It's sad to say it, but my kids are, when they're going to be teenagers, they're like not going to want dad around as much. So that, that scale, my wife and I were talking about that last night. It was like, I have a golf event coming up this weekend, funny enough. And I was like, I haven't played one round this whole year yet. And I was like, one, I'm going to suck. But two, these guys, like, they play all the time. And I was like, I would love to be able to like consistently get out there and do things like this. But at this point in my life, it's just not really possible, because I want my time spent on those things. And at some point that scale is going to tip back, and hopefully the business is running so that I can spend more time on extracurricular stuff, hunting, golf, going on trips, things like that. And I feel like if you focus on like what that balance is, like in the micro standpoint of like this week or this year, it can kind of stress you out, right? Because it's not going to be balanced. But if you zoom out and you look at it over like a 5 or 10 year period, it's like, okay, it's just this kind of seesaws back and forth. And at the end of the day, it's balanced, so to speak.
Right. So. And ultimately what you're building is going to create the freedom and give you all the time in the world.
Right.
And then it might be that you are able to golf every weekend and your friends can't join you at that point.
That's exactly.
Who knows?
Which may still not fix the friendship side of things. But, you kind of, at least with friendships, I feel like my experience, I found a good group that is like strong, and I could see it. They're lifelong friendships, but there's also people that come in and out of your life in seasons that can still be friends, but it's a little bit different. Like I look at my friend group now as my family. So still want to kind of give them, the time that I have. We've got some trips planned this year and stuff like that, but yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. You always hear work-life balance and like the grind mentality bros are like, you got to kind of always be,
I don't know. I guess
you got to kind of always be working and to get to where you want to be. But I feel like there's a little bit on the other side of that too. I don't know if you saw recently, Alex Hormozy like did a podcast with Tony Robbins.
I did see that.
So that was like,
it
was one of my
uproar around it.
First glimpses into him actually being like vulnerable, which was really interesting. And I enjoyed it because I was like, oh, he's dealing with some of the same stuff that I feel. And he mentioned that too. He was like, not that he neglected like other things in his life, but he was like, this was my priority for the longest time, was building this business. And he exited multiple business, 40, $50 million. So that was obviously successful for him. But now he's talking about giving back and trying to find like ways to, take his wealth and spread it around. But it's still kind of a struggle for him to figure out where that focus needs to go and things along those lines. And I want to be charitable. I feel like I haven't been able to be up to this point, at least as much as I want to be. But you've got to build your base up enough to be able to comfortably like make a difference and make an impact. So,
well, I want to challenge you on that a little bit, because the way that I view it, charitable, like being charitable, I do what I do so that I can create jobs and so that I can create opportunities that I didn't have. And so that's a way that I look at me being able to give back. And you certainly are doing that.
Sure.
You're creating opportunities that I haven't seen been brought often to the NRV or Roanoke. Like the investment project that you're working on. What's the name of it? The Grand Valley View.
The portfolio.
Valley View Gardens.
Valley View, yeah.
So that portfolio, it was brought to my attention at the meetup the other night where you spoke, where there are GP positions. Correct me. What does that stand for?
So you have GPs and LPs. So GP is your general partner team.
Yeah.
And then LP is like your limited partner team. So.
And you're allowing them to go out and find investors to bring them to the table, and they get a piece of the deal.
Right. Correct.
I think that's charitable.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're creating this opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think, your perspective, and that was honestly something that Alex brought up. He was like, my giving back is actually tied to my business. He was like, we want to, make as many business owners, change their lives by doing what we do day to day in our business. So that's a good point. I mean, I think, the job creation, showing people like with our 90-day multifamily sprint, being able to show people like what upside and what they are actually capable of, like if they go through a program like that. I think long term, you definitely kind of zoom out and you can be like, hey, we actually touched a lot of people's lives doing this stuff.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, you can look on your Instagram profile, and I can always tell the creators who are trying to use the platform to monetize or whatever, but I can always tell when other creators are doing it based off of service to others.
Sure.
And I think that is very charitable.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And I struggle with that sometimes too, and I'm sure everyone does. But when you get on Instagram and you're like, man, we work so hard and put in so many hours, and then you see these guys with, they've got Lambos and they're in this big house and they're constantly on a yacht somewhere, and you're just like, what are they doing? And it really like it kind of falls back to just noise online, and like you could get. Like, I feel like I could probably fake a lot of things on my social profiles and get exponentially further as far as like social clout goes online, but it's not genuine, right? And it's not at the end
it's not sustainable.
Right. At the end of the day, it's like at some point that house of cards is going to come falling down, and everything that you tried to pretend that you were doing is going to kind of get exposed. So I feel like we're kind of building a foundation, and like, I just try to document things that we do every day. So, there's no way to fake, there's no way to replicate that. There's no way to fake that. It's like, we are here, this is what we're doing. And then we kind of chop it up and put it out to the people. So to speak. So yeah, that's good. I appreciate that kind of reframe, because it definitely does kind of make me look at what we're doing. I'd still like to do bigger and better things. I'd like to go overseas and, build homes and provide housing and, try to build churches and things along those lines. But again, you kind of have to take it in seasons. It comes back to the balance thing. It's like, what do you have at your disposal right now? What can you impact? And with us right now, that's our business and the people that are involved. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And who knows? That could be something that happens for you in 5 years
Right.
because you're doing what you need to do right now.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. So one thing I had here, a lot of times when you're watching folks either online or just in life, we talk about this balance thing. It seems like there's some pretty big trade-offs in like, okay, I'm going to focus on my business, but I'm going to get, sick and fat and, just not healthy while I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other ones like, I want to get really wealthy, but then they end up divorced because they're neglecting things. Like personally, what do you think causes those things? Is it not being self-aware enough to like see what's going on around you? Is it just the fact that like, maybe some people they prioritize too heavily in one direction versus the other? Or, I'm just curious kind of what your take is on that, how different people might look at that versus what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, I know it's a hard one.
Wow, that is a really hard one. Oh my gosh. It's like I almost need it written out in front of me.
Yeah, it's okay. We can cut some of this out.
No, that's okay. I can do it. For me personally, I don't know what causes other people to do it. Maybe they idolize certain things. For me, I shift my focus to other people.
Sure.
So I reframe it again. And I take it away from myself focused, and I think about who all I'm going to be able to impact if I'm in the best shape, if my business does well, if my relationship with my family is good. And so that's how it is for me. Maybe it is like in, what's the word, idolization of these things, where they're so focused on one thing that everything else falls to the wayside.
Yeah. And a lot of that I think comes, at least from what I can see, is like priorities and perspective. I feel like, it's like if your number one priority is making money, that's okay. And, maybe you're at a season in your life where like your back's against the wall, you have to make money in order to take care of your family and, do these other things. But when you put it in perspective, it's like, is losing your family and relationships
And your health.
Like, is that pursuit of wealth actually going to better these other areas of your life? Or is your perspective wrong? And hey, maybe the money is not quite as important as, keeping these other priorities in check. And I struggle with that a lot. I have some big aspirations for the business and where we want to take it. Money is definitely a big driving factor of that. But when I kind of take a step back and look at the perspective of it, it's like, I don't want to build a business and lose everything else.
Right.
Like, that's not what I see my future being. I would love to have a really big business. And if it takes me 10 more years to get it to where it wants to, but I didn't lose all these relationships and I was able to stay healthy throughout the process and like keep my mind sane, like that makes a lot more sense for me than it does, just grind mode, put my head down, forget everything else that's happening, and just let everything else fall apart around it.
You said you struggle in some areas with that. What does that look like for you? Because it looks to me kind of like it's all figured out.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I mean,
you make it look good.
Well, yeah, and that comes back to that social media thing that we were talking
That's
about.
right.
Like,
That's right.
Like the front facing piece of it is really just scratching the surface. And, there's a lot of studies now around like mental health where people, all they do is take what they see online as truth, and then they compare themselves to what they think is true, but that's really not. It's just like a front-facing facade kind of. But there's been areas in my life too where, I didn't have the family side figured out. I was spending too much time, running around, running the business and trying to get, all my social hours in, things like that. But I was neglecting my relationship at home. My kids weren't seeing me as much. They were too young to really know that. But, it's kind of teeter-tottered back and forth, and it's taken me time to realize that. There was other seasons where I was like super social all the time, was at home all the time, but then I realized the business wasn't growing either. So it's like, it's really and that's the whole point of this episode, I feel like, is like, where is balance? Is balance even a thing? It's like, can you kind of hold it all together, juggle all the balls and keep it going? I think it's an ongoing struggle for pretty much anybody that's either an entrepreneur or has a family and a job that they're trying to,
like a high achieving anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, I was going to say something. It was something you brought up. I can't remember. I went hunting this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's the last week of turkey season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at a property yesterday with an investor client of mine, and I was asking him about my flip, and he was like, listen, I'll help you, and I'll keep helping you if you put me on a turkey tomorrow.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, so I called my dad, and he let us go over to this plot of land that he has over in Bedford. So I'm running on 4 hours of sleep.
Nice.
And 20 milligrams of creatine.
Yeah, nice.
So my train of thought is like...
That's, turkey hunting will do that to you for sure.
It was my first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys get on anything?
They were like doing their thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were doing. But just listening, there were turkeys from like 3 different directions.
Oh, perfect.
And they said they saw some. They were like crawling through the woods, like army crawling, doing their thing. And so he's got 2, or mom and dad have 2 plots of land over in the same area. And the one that we were on is just private, kind of locked with other private landowners. But the one I dropped him off at before I left to get ready to come here borders National Forest.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, he sent me a picture like an hour ago of 2 turkeys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you helped facilitate that.
Yes, and now he has to help me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I have documentation now.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I took my son for the first time this year. We've been deer hunting quite a bit, but turkey hunting is just a different beast when it comes to like, you got to be quiet, you got to be patient, you can't move. And he's about to turn 7, so he's old enough now where he kind of can understand that. And took him out the first time, and I was like, there's a very good chance. If you've ever been turkey hunting, it's like very hit or miss. I was like, there's a good chance we don't hear anything, don't see anything, so we'll just kind of make a day out of this. And we went out. We were a little bit late, but I'd started him out in a blind, and we sat down, and within like 10 minutes of us sitting down, you heard like 3 gobblers like right around us. And I could just, the look on his face.
Yeah, what did he do?
He was like, oh my God. This is awesome.
Like, I have to be still, but I want to scream.
He was so pumped. He was so pumped though. And he definitely, he got the itch. So every weekend that we've got some free time, he wants to go out now. And we've gotten pretty close, but these turkeys specifically, it's up on a mountain. They kind of roost like halfway down the mountain. And every single time that we've set up, they have came off the roost, flown down into the bottom of the valley, and then gone straight up the other side of the mountain. And we don't have access to that side yet.
No,
which
yet.
I'm working on.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's been a cool experience. So that's been cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Does your daughter have any?
She's
inclination.
She just wants to be involved right now. So she's like, she wants to go, but I think this year we'll take her deer hunting. That's kind of like the best progression. I feel like is like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's about to be 4.
4.
Yeah. So our kids were actually born the same day. 3 years apart.
Oh, wow.
So they've got the same birthday.
What day is that?
August 15th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then my wife's birthday is 3 days later. So I'm like, got them all kind of right in the same time frame. I can either, knock it all out at once, or I'm in triple trouble if for some reason I drop the ball.
That's right. Easy to remember, though.
Yes.
My dad, I think he was given the option as to what day he was able to, or that they were going to get married. And he chose August 31st because it was the last day of the month. He'd remember it. He just had to remember the month.
Nice.
And the last day.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I know.
That's awesome.
My thought came back to me.
Okay, what's wrong?
So from before, you asked me what I thought led people to go off one direction and kind of leave the other pillars of their life behind. And it sounds to me almost like you would say it's self-awareness. That allows you to kind of like
I think so.
Control.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just like, and this could be a superpower, but also something that kind of messes with you like emotionally and mentally. But I felt this in college a lot whenever I was playing football, and I was just like constantly self-evaluating. And, a lot of that comes from having coaches and watching film and like, even just my actions, even interactions that I would have with people. Like, I would think back days ago and like
Ooh.
the conversation I had, I'm like, man, I should have asked how they were doing, and like before I like went down my rabbit hole and talked about myself for 10 minutes. It's just like things like that. Like I think it helps you kind of stay in that lane, but at the same time, if you let it get too far, you can kind of be living in the past and regrets and things like that might not be as important as you personally yourself are worried about. But
and just like ridden with anxiety.
Yeah.
At that point.
And I had pretty bad anxiety throughout that kind of time frame.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But I've kind of, I feel like matured around that a little bit. And now I can use it to my benefit as being like, hey, it helps me kind of get back on track if things start to slip in certain areas. Mm-hmm. Or, I can kind of foresee things that may be coming up before it actually becomes an issue and kind of course correct to a certain degree. So it's the same thing. I mean, we were talking about us both kind of struggling with some ADHD stuff. And
shout out Mel.
Yeah, right. And I feel like that again can be a superpower if you harness it in the right areas. It's like I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast and this got brought up, and he's like, I feel like ADHD is a superpower. He said, I feel like I have it personally. It's sad to see school systems kind of look at that, and the current kind of medical field look at that and be like, this isn't right. Like you shouldn't, like your kid can't sit still in school, or they can't focus on this thing. And it's like, it's not actually the kid, it's the thing that they're being asked to do.
Right.
They weren't built to sit down and, be factory workers. Like
and still for 8 hours.
Yeah. And if they're not, especially a kid that does have some ADHD or, even just ADD, it's like, if you give them a video game that they're focused on, like they can play it for 10 hours straight. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily the kid or the person, it's what's being put in front of them, what they're being forced to do. And I feel like, all that kind of ties back into everything that we've been talking about. But I feel like my ADHD is actually something that's pushed me forward to be able to do all these multiple things, kind of keep them tied together. I've had to set up systems and put people in place to help out with things that I'm not good at, right, or I'm not going to be able to focus on. For one, the biggest thing is like my emails. I do not have the mental capacity to sit down and get through my inbox. But I brought somebody on a few years ago that she's very organized, very meticulous, very like focused in all day long on, and she could take a task list and like just check it all off in one day. Remember the first like week that I brought her in, I was like, here's what I need you to do this week. And she came back in like 3 hours and was like, all right, it's all done. And I was like,
what now?
I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
It would have taken me 3 days to complete it.
Exactly. And that's, it was definitely a perspective shift for me. Just having the right people in the right place and trying to build those systems, those checklists has kind of kept everybody on the right track. But it's freed me up to focus on, more marketing stuff and like being out in the field and like doing things that I like to do that I can focus on for a long time. So I think it's, again, perspective, like, and then kind of being self-aware of like what you're good at, what you're not good at, and trying to find, quote unquote balance when it comes to that. So,
right. Is there like a piece of advice that you would give a new business owner just starting? Like if it were you, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Is there like just one piece of advice that you would give?
Kind of centered around that?
Yeah, to kind of keep it all together.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that helped me a lot was tracking my time. So I literally and I'll do this every probably 6 months now, but I'll sit down and I'll literally have like a blank calendar, and throughout the whole day down to like the 15-minute mark, I'll write down what I was doing during that time period. One, it kind of helps you see like all the times you pick up your phone and you start scrolling Instagram or, get on Reddit or whatever it is that you do. And they're like, there's a lot of time wasted in between a lot of tasks. So it kind of helps you, redirect where your time's going and, be more disciplined in what you're doing. But the other thing it allowed me to do was like, I saw that I was spending, 20-minute chunks on emails or like throughout the day. It was like, 5 different times I would like get back into my inbox and like try to answer, conversations or keep conversations going. And that's just not super efficient. It's like there's definitely a better way to do this. So you either had to say, okay, well, I'm taking this hour in the morning and then an hour in the afternoon and I'm answering all my emails. Or if you're in the right position, you can hire somebody or put some sort of system in place that, somebody's helping you with the things that you maybe aren't as efficient at. And how can you fill that time with? So I think like just a general piece of advice is like, do those time assessments and figure out, internally, like it's inevitable as a starting business owner or anybody that's just maybe even an experienced business owner that's starting a new business, like you're going to have to wear all the hats. And it's really a big drain on your mental capacity and like energy, but it's an inevitable part of like starting something. And it's important that you realize what you're good at, what you're not good at, what's inefficient and what you're trying to accomplish, and then putting people and systems in place to kind of get over those hurdles.
Right. I think time blocking, I was advised to do it when I first started real estate 3 years ago. And this year I actually sat down and time blocked my calendar out.
Nice.
And it's been a game changer.
Have you actually like been able to adhere to it?
Yeah, for the most part. Like I'll take an appointment for a client out of my time slot, but I think about it first.
Yeah.
And then I'll decide if it's worth it or not.
Yeah, I've done similar things. I'm probably not as good at actually keeping on track with it, but like one thing was, I've got 2 days a week now that I've got blocked out for having client lunches. And it's like somebody wants to have lunch, like those are the 2 days that I do it instead of just randomly filling up the calendar throughout the week. Same thing for like prospecting calls or, calls that I'm just having with like people that are in my network or centers of influence type of deal. There's 3 hours in the afternoon this day, or I've got a 3-hour block in the morning this day that if somebody wants to set a meeting, these are the times that I've done. And I don't know if you use Calendly. You ever use that app?
No, where people can go in and automatically book your open time slot?
Right. So that's been super useful for me because one, you can just, instead of you going back and forth 4 or 5 times to try and find a time that works for both of you, which, that's the whole reason they created the app. But you can actually take that Calendly link that you have and set the times for that specific task. So if it's going to be a lunch meeting, it's like, hey, you want to have lunch? Here's my Calendly. Go ahead and book it. But these are the 2 or 3 days that I do lunches. So it doesn't just have a full open calendar when you send it to them. If it's a prospecting call or somebody wants to talk about property management, I've got like a property management link. And, I know that Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday mornings, those are the time blocks that I have for it. So those are the only days that they are allowed to actually book a time on my calendar.
I love that.
So you can kind of take that time blocking and then add it into your Calendly, and that allows them to kind of adhere to your time blocking as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd be too willy-nilly if not.
I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, what? You've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Like what works best for you? Like, let me just shove it in between these other meetings and, you get off track and then your calendar's full of kind of things that you weren't planning on doing that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you're running all over town and you get nothing done.
Right.
Haven't checked your email once.
Right.
Haven't returned any texts. That's my bad.
Yeah.
That's my
my phone
worst.
is my I've been trying to figure that out for years.
525
oh my God.
unanswered text messages. Sorry.
Everyone. Oh my God. All right, that's worse.
You know who you are?
That's worse than I am. So one of the biggest things that Apple did here recently was, I always thought, why don't they make this text messaging like SMS app in your iPhone more like your email? So you can like schedule text messages, or you can like, like sort it by, unread messages, and like make it more just like a easier to use app for business owners essentially, or really anybody. But they did open up a function now where you can just search by unread messages, which is nice. So,
Oh, I did not know that.
yeah, so you can sort it and then you can like mass unread. You don't actually have to go through each one to like, or mass read them, I guess, make them answered and not
read.
Answered. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was, but the phone thing for me is big. I've always thought about getting a second phone, having like my work number and then a personal phone. But then I'm like, now I got two phones to manage. Like I probably won't be able to look at either one of them at that point. So it's a struggle for me too on the phone side. But yeah, I don't really know a way around that. I'm a little hesitant to hand over like the iMessage to my assistant because I've got, friends that aren't as professional as they should be. So
you don't know what's coming across that screen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little scary. But so, going back to the name Built, I think we chose a name that kind of resonates with a lot of the things we do, building yourself, building a business, building a portfolio. I'm curious to hear, what do you feel like you're building right now for Kristi? Like what's the foundation, and then what are you trying to build on top of that to reach your goals and your dreams?
Oh, that was a heavy one.
Big drop.
I know, Cody.
I can start if you want to ask me the question.
I don't even. Yeah, I want to ask you the question. What was the question? This episode is brought to you by Southern Trace Builders. Whether you're dreaming about a custom addition, renovating an outdated space, or creating the perfect indoor-outdoor setup for your family, Southern Trace specializes in bringing those ideas to life with quality craftsmanship and a smooth building process. From kitchen and basement remodels to full home additions and outdoor living spaces, their team serves homeowners throughout the Roanoke Valley and Southwest Virginia. Check out their recent projects and learn more at southerntracellc.com.
Just so going back to the name, Built, I feel like we're we're talking about building, a legacy, building a portfolio, building a business, and just, what that means for you going forward.
Okay, so the name Built, our new podcast name, what does it mean to you? What are you building right now?
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into that, obviously, but I feel like it resonates a lot with what we do day to day and kind of the legacy that we're trying to build. We purposefully singled out real estate, business, health and wealth. I feel like those are probably the four biggest pillars that like we focus on day to day. You can add obviously family and relationships into that, but as far as the podcast goes, so I really want to build a business that is like a family name at the end of the day. Not necessarily a Google, but somebody looks at investment property or an investment brokerage and that's the first name that comes to them. Like Haven is kind of that brand name. So that all starts with a foundation. I think it's really cool that, we're in a small market here and, if we can really prove out our model, make it work here, show people that, or investors or operators or whoever it is that, hey, this works in a small market and, we can show that we're 40 times more profitable than a traditional like, brokerage or even just like property management company. I want to take that, use it as the foundation and then try and scale it from there. And then on top of that, building through those operations and like what we're doing day to day in the business, we're able to actually build a real estate portfolio out of that, which, long term, I want to be able to build something up that I can like hand off to the next generation of kids, like the Rockefellers. And, those guys have clearly, surpassed any sort of like dreams or limitations that most people ever even think is possible. But the way that they've created a legacy for like their family and their family name, like that's something that's always kind of resonated with me is like, he's, I don't even know, like 6 generations back at this point, but the Rockefeller name is still a pretty strong name. They've, set up a trust, the Rockefeller method with life insurance and how all that's kind of like built out and future generations are still able to benefit from like the legacy that he's built. Like that's really what it boils down to for me. And I think our podcast name resonates with that because everything you do is built on something, built, not born again.
Right.
It's like, I wasn't born into this. it's something that we're, continuously like trying to compound on and build out that way. So
Yeah, it sounds like you just described your purpose or your why.
yeah, to a certain
I
degree,
love that.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Family, legacy. I
Real
love
estate.
that.
Yeah.
Real estate.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, we do it through real estate.
Yeah,
That's how we do it.
Right. So
I love that.
What's yours, do you think? I mean, you've started on that path. I mean, you've got a good foundation in fitness. You've got a good foundation in, your portfolio that's growing. You're getting started in the business ownership side of things past, being a sales agent and stuff like that. So
Right. So ultimately, I think my goal for myself is financial freedom. I want to, whenever I am able to, or whenever the opportunity, when God sees fit, to bring the right man into my life and to be able to start a family, I want to be able to have the time to give to my family, to show up, like you said at the beginning, for everything. And still be able to be an asset to my family, my husband, my kids. So that truly, I think, is what I'm after.
Sure.
I really strive to, well, this will make you emotional.
Yeah, it's good.
I strive to make real estate more approachable for the younger generation, because there are so many things out there that kind of scare you out of pursuing home ownership. But I believe that as part of the American dream, I think that everybody should own. And I want to help them be able to do that. And so I think that I figured out a pretty good way for people to be able to get in and still be able to live and enjoy their life. But like I said earlier, creating jobs with the portfolio that I have, although it may be small right now.
Sure.
Ultimately, with what we build together, it will get bigger over time and more opportunities. But I love creating jobs. I love creating quality housing. And I think that, a big part of why I was so interested in this opportunity with you and with Haven is because of the standard that you hold when it comes to the property management side of your business. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
and
a lot.
One thing that you said was, it seems like if you really listen to the media and you're, kind of all the naysayers online these days, like everybody's saying homeownership's out of reach. But it's really like, it's not always, you got to save 20% and find a house that you can afford. There's other ways to get into it.
There are so many creative ways, and I have studied it for hours, thousands of hours of podcasts, thousands of hours of books. Yeah, I want to lead people toward that, and just know that I just want them to know that they have a cheerleader and somebody that's going to work really hard for them to get them to that goal, if that is their goal.
Sure. Yeah, and options. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people just don't realize is even a thing. I was, listening back to some of the other episodes that we've done, and when we were talking about, that duplex that you bought and the capital stack and being able to buy it with, 50% bank money and then 50% from the seller, it's like those opportunities exist, and it's all about education, and that's kind of what the school group that we've started is trying to cater towards, is like, hey, you can do more than you think you can with limited capital, and it's really just about your mindset and being willing to kind of take a leap of faith and put the time in to learn it.
And showing up and taking no's.
Right.
Like I had put in 9 purchase offers before I actually got a yes for that duplex. And so showing up, educating yourself, being involved with the investor meetup, the school group,
right,
and actually implementing it.
Nice.
Something that resonated with me the most when Todd Maxey came on to be my mentor, I was like, what is it about somebody that makes you want to kind of feed into them? And he was like, because I know that whatever we talk about, you're going to go out and do. And so at that point, he's like, we can feed off of each other.
Right.
Like, I'm excited for the things you have going on because you actually have something going on to bring to me, and vice versa. So I learned how to structure that deal from Todd.
Right.
And it wasn't, oh my gosh, I think I got connected with him maybe February or March of last year. And I was under contract for that duplex with that creative structure by May.
Nice.
So it's just showing up,
Right.
being willing to do the work and being willing to take a no or 10.
Yeah, I think actually showing people that you're going to go out and do it is like that's another superpower. Whether it works out or not, if you try, and I've had various kind of mentors, throughout my career. And one of the biggest things is always like, you can't just show up and expect them to like hand it to you. Like you've got to be willing to do the work, take the insights that they're willing to give you, whether you paid for them or not, and then, make that your own thing and go out and kind of pave your own way. And that's set me apart from a lot of the other people that have come to those. And then they're just more willing to pour into you because they can actually see the growth. They can actually see you like taking the lessons and they enjoy that piece. But what they don't enjoy doing is like constantly preaching, constantly giving information away, and then people just sit on their hands. So
Right. Yeah. You won't have them for long.
Right.
They will not give you the time of day for very long.
Who are some of the other mentors, like people that you look up to or worked with, either locally or on like the national level that you've kind of got some experience from and insights from?
The first person I think I approached for mentorship was Jamie Bailey.
Okay.
She actually will be on soon.
Nice.
But she is a mortgage broker with Alcova, and I think she also owns an insurance agency. But my mom suggested that I reach out to her because she knew that she invests in real estate, and she actually taught a class at RVAR. I think the class was called So You Want to Be a Landlord?
Okay.
And I attended that, stuck with me. Mom suggested I reach out to her because she knew I was looking for mentorship. And I reached out to her, and I think that was the first time that somebody, when I reached out to them, came back to me and was like, okay, for how long, what time, and what do you want to talk about? And so I had to come to that meeting prepared.
Sure.
And she sat with me longer than I asked. But that was one thing that taught me, if you're going to ask somebody for something, especially if you want their mentorship, let them know what it is and how long you're going to take.
Sure.
And so she was probably my first interaction. And it was funny. We got there and I didn't say much. And she just whipped her computer out and showed me her entire Excel sheet of her portfolio. Nice. And she was like, here, like just spilled it all out for me. And then Todd Maxey, I think, was and still is probably my main guy.
Nice.
At the moment. And you now.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
I guess I'm stuck now.
You are. Yeah. I'm really excited about that. I think that there's not, or I have noticed that there's not a ton of people doing what I want to be doing and are at the place that I want to be, but I see that in you. And so
I appreciate that.
That makes me really excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To be working together.
Do you have anybody, I know you've like kind of pouring into the marketing side and some more like online stuff. Do you have anybody online that might not technically be like a mentor, but people that you kind of lean on or watch and try and implement kind of the things that they're doing into what you're trying to build?
Oh gosh. I love Shelby Sapp's Yaps.
Oh, okay. I watch her stuff.
I love her.
Yeah. She's a go-getter.
She is a go-getter. And literally all it is her. I think the thing is she's been posting 3 times a day for God knows how long.
Yeah.
But she never misses. And it's trends. It's car yaps for the most part.
Yeah.
But
that's just her like sitting in her car talking to the camera. Yeah,
exactly. For the longest time, I mean, now she's like off doing podcasts, whatever else. So she has that, level of video. But she has been somebody that I have watched for the past couple years and really tried to, not that I'm posting 3 times a day.
Sure.
I don't know that. I mean, I could probably do it, but anyways.
Definitely possible.
It definitely is possible, but I don't want to yet.
Right.
My focus is elsewhere, but she is definitely somebody that I look up to in that regard. Like what she's built and how she's able to get the interest of her audience, I think is incredible.
Yeah.
Like definitely Shelby. I can't think of anybody else who's made that big of an impact on my content.
Sure.
I don't think.
So you were just out on a yacht, right? In San Diego. How did that was what, Rich Summers?
Rich Summers.
How did that go?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It actually was an entrepreneur workshop, and they did talk about personal branding. So Briar Cochran, he works, oh my gosh, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think it's creative director.
Okay.
Sorry, Briar.
That sounds right.
Yeah, for Rich Summers. And he was there teaching the class with Rich. And Cole De Silva, I believe it is. He's in the fitness world.
Okay.
If that's not his last name, we need to cut that out.
We'll check
because I literally just met him.
Yeah, we'll check it.
And I like him a lot. But anyways, they gave a lot of good game in that realm.
Nice.
So yeah, I follow Briar now and I listen to everything he puts up. He talks about storytelling and how important that is. And he just talks about how to build a brand. And he's pretty freaking good at it. He helps
great.
a lot of people do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was fantastic. I do love a yacht.
Yeah, I bet. That's another goal of mine. It's like,
I know. And it was blacked out. Oh,
that's awesome.
it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think, you kind of have like mentors that stick with you throughout your career, but also like just advisors in general. So, I've got a ton of people that are experts in certain areas and, they might not be like mentoring me directly, but it's somebody that I can lean on and call if, I'm trying to work through a problem in like, my financial side of things or work through a problem on the marketing side or, a deal comes up and I don't know how to structure it. Like I know a guy that's put that stuff together and I can reach out and like talk to him directly. So it's not always, when I was first getting into the game, I was like, I need to find one mentor that's going to kind of help me learn everything that I need to know. And they're going to get me from here to there. And it doesn't always really happen that way. It's like a group of mentors or a group of advisors that, the more stuff you do, you get introduced to people and you start seeing what they're doing. And again, if they see that you're actually out there doing the work, they're more than happy to talk to you if you pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I just got one quick question. Like I realize that, or I see that you're, big in the marketing space. How do I get to the point where I'm posting 3 times a day? Like what do you do? What have you set up? And they're like more than happy to kind of dish out that information to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always ask. The people who want to help you will,
Right.
and the ones who don't, forget them.
You probably don't want their help anyway.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But no, that's a good point. And then you can kind of just be like selective of those mentors.
Right.
And the
Exactly.
people that you call on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
For different things.
like a group of advisors. but
Advisors.
Yeah.
Your counsel.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. The council.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, that kind of wraps things up today. We, talked a lot. We're kind of across the spectrum on many different things, but excited to kind of keep this going. We're going to have some, pretty influential and experienced guests on here very soon. And I'm excited to see what we build with Built. And hopefully, it continues to kind of get more information out there, help people kind of get over that first hurdle, or, maybe they are experienced, but they're trying to get into the next stage. And I think bringing people in that have experiences in different areas, whether that's building a business or building a real estate portfolio, or they've, mastered certain areas of health or wealth planning, that's really what we're trying to accomplish here. So have any parting words?
Thank you for watching. On the next episode, we're going to have Jamie Bailey. She is a personal mentor of mine and a fellow investor. Super excited to talk with her. Stay tuned.